The massive alien ship dwarfed the human shuttle as it approached the Galactic Concord station orbiting Jupiter. John Martinez pressed his face against the viewport, taking in the impossible scale of the structure. After 20 years as a Navy, SEAL and 5 more protecting diplomats, he thought nothing could impress him anymore. He was wrong. First time seeing it? Ambassador Carl Winters asked, settling into the seat beside him. Her gray hair was pulled back in a tight bun, her posture perfect, even after the 18-hour journey from Earth. John nodded. Pictures don't do it justice, Mom. None of our technology does, Carol said quietly. Remember, we're the new kids. Here, the babies. Try not to look too amazed when we board. The shuttle docked with a gentle bump. John checked his sidearm out of habit, then remembered it wasn't there. No human weapons allowed on the Station 1 of many rules the aliens had insisted upon. The airlock cycled open to reveal their welcoming committee. 3 aliens from different species, all at least 7 feet tall. The one in the center had blue-gray skin and 4 arms. John assumed it was mail war, an elaborate uniform covered in symbols John couldn't begin to understand. Ambassador Winters, the alien said in perfect English. I am Commander Vex of the Tellurian Guard. Welcome back to Concord Station. Carol stepped forward with practiced diplomacy. Commander Vex, thank you for the warm welcome. May I present John Martinez, our new security liaison? The alien's large, pupil-less eyes fixed on John. Another military specimen? Your species does seem to favor them for diplomatic roles. John kept his face neutral despite the insult. It's an honor to be here, Commander. The alien to Vex's right made a sound like glass, breaking apparently laughter. He speaks. The last one they sent barely managed complete sentences. John felt his jaw tighten, but said nothing. Carol had briefed him extensively. The Concord species, considered humans primitive, barely worth acknowledging. Earth had only been granted observer status because the aliens needed our solar system's strategic position in their war against the Xeraxians. Chief Martinez has an excellent record, Carol said smoothly. He'll be assisting me during our strategy observation sessions. Commander Vex's upper arms crossed while his lower pair gestured dismissively. Yes, your observation privileges. The Council remains divided on allowing humans such access, but regulations must be followed. Come, we'll show your security liaison to his quarters before the tour begins. They followed the aliens through corridors filled with beings from across the galaxy. Some looked almost human. Others defied description. The station itself was a marvel of engineering gleaming metal surfaces, gravity that shifted subtly between sections, and technology that seemed to respond to thought rather than touch dot at the residential ring. John was assigned quarters next. To the ambassadors. The room was surprisingly comfortable, though designed for beings taller than humans. 1 hour, then we begin the official tour. Commander Vex announced before leaving dot as soon as the aliens departed. Carol's diplomatic smile vanished. Well, that went about as expected. John set down his bag. They really don't think much of U.S., do they? They think we're cavemen who got lucky finding fire, Carol said. 7 advanced species, all with faster-than-light travel for over 1,000 years, suddenly discover Earth 50 years ago. They're not impressed by our accomplishments. Yet they need our help with their war. Carol shook her head. They don't need our help. They need our solar system as a buffer zone. The Xeraxian Empire is expanding in this direction. We're just convenient geography. An hour later, they rejoined their alien guides for the promised tour. The Concord Station was a city in space, home to over 50,000 beings from dozens of worlds. At its center was the command sector, where the war against the Xeraxians was managed. This is as far as you'll be permitted, said the third alien Meridian named Sor, whose translucent skin revealed pulsing organs beneath. The war room beyond is restricted to full Concord members. John studied the massive doors with professional interest. "What kind of security measures do you use?" The question earned him 3 alien stares. "Biological recognition far beyond human technology," Commander Vex said finally. "No unauthorized species can enter." Before John could respond, alarms began, blaring throughout the station. The lights shifted to a deep purple, and announcements in multiple languages echoed through the corridors. "What's happening?" Carol asked, but the aliens were already moving, touching communication devices on their wrists. "Impossible," Commander Vex muttered. "Zeraxian ships have bypassed the outer defenses. All personnel to emergency stations." The floor beneath them shuddered violently. John's training kicked in immediately. "Ambassador, we need to get to safety." "Where are the emergency shelters?" Commander Vex was barking orders into his communicator. The Meridian Soar turned to them. "Level 6, Section D as emergency pods. Go there immediately." Another explosion rocked the station, stronger this time. The lights flickered, and gravity wavered momentarily. John grabbed Carol's arm to steady her. "Commander!" A new alien rushed toward them, uniform torn and face streaked with something green that John assumed was blood. "The council chambers are hit. Multiple casualties." Vex's 4 arms moved in. "Complex patterns. Get medical teams there now." "What about the shield failure? How did they penetrate?" The ceiling above them groaned, metal twisting under stress. John looked up and saw the support beams bending. He didn't think he moved. "Look out!" He shoved all 4 beams away from the collapsing section just as it gave way. Debris crashed down where they had been standing moments before. Carol rolled to her feet, years of crisis training evident in her calm. "We need to help evacuate." John was already examining the fallen alien messenger, who was bleeding heavily. "This one needs medical attention now." Commander Vex stared at John with an expression impossible to read on his alien face. "You reacted before the structural integrity alarms activated." John tore a strip from his uniform shirt and pressed it against the injured alien's wound. Basic combat instinct. The ceiling was buckling. Another explosion, closer this time. Emergency. Barriers slammed down, sealing off sections of the corridor. "The council members," Vex said urgently. They were meeting in Chamber 3 when the attack began. John helped the injured alien to a sitting position. "Where's Chamber 3? "2 levels down, but the lifts are emergency locked." "Show me the maintenance access," John said, his voice shifting to command tone. "Ambassador, please go with SOAR to the emergency pods." Carol straightened her jacket. "I'm not leaving, Chief Martinez. Those council members represent our only allies in the galaxy." Vex made a decision. "Follow me." They navigated through increasingly damaged sections of the station. Smoke filled some corridors. Others were exposed to space and sealed off. They passed aliens of all species, working together to contain, damage, and treat the injured. They reached a maintenance shaft that Vex had to override with his security clearance. "Chamber 3 is directly below. If it's breached, ... "I understand," John said, already lowering himself into the shaft. What they found in Chamber 3 changed everything. 5 of the 7 Concord Council members lay injured amid the wreckage of their meeting chamber. A section of the outer wall had been breached, and emergency force fields were failing. John didn't hesitate. He analyzed the situation, directed Vex and his team to stabilize the wounded, and personally carried 2 injured council members to safety before the final force field collapsed. 3 hours later, when the Zeraxian ships finally retreated, John sat in the medical center getting a cut on his arm treated. Commander Vex approached, his uniform torn and stained, but his posture still rigid. "The Council wishes to speak with you," he said, all previous condescension gone from his voice. John looked up, surprised. "With me? Why?" "Because," Vex said slowly, "in 300 years of war, no one has ever saved 5 council members in a single day, especially not a species we considered too primitive to matter." John stood, wincing at his bruised ribs. "Just doing my job, Commander." "Perhaps," Vex replied. "We have misjudged what humans are capable of." 3 months passed since the attack on the Concord station. John Martinez stood at the window of his apartment on Earth, watching the sunset over the Pacific Ocean. His comlink chimed, displaying Ambassador Carol Winter's name. "Martinez," he answered. "Pack your bags," Carol said without greeting. "We're going back to the station." John raised an eyebrow. "I thought our next rotation wasn't for 2 months. Plans changed. The Concord High Command has requested you specifically." That was unusual. Since the attack, Earth's standing with the Concord had improved, but the aliens still kept humans at arm's length. "What happened? I'll brief you on the shuttle. We leave tomorrow at 0600. The next day, as their shuttle climbed through Earth's atmosphere, Carol explained the situation. "After you saved those council members, Admiral Zarek has been watching you. He's a Tellurian, like Commander Vex, but much higher ranking." "Watching me how?" John asked. "He reviewed all footage of the attack. He's been pushing the Council to bring in fresh perspectives on their war strategy. The Zaraxians have been gaining ground for decades, despite the Concord's technological advantages." John frowned. "And I fit into this how?" Carol smiled. "They want you to observe their strategic planning sessions. In the war room." John stared at her. "The war room? The place they said no human would ever set foot in?" "The very same. Admiral Zarek believes your quick thinking during the attack demonstrated that humans process combat situations differently than Concord species. He wants that perspective. The other aliens must love that," John said dryly. Carol laughed. "Oh, they're furious. But Zarek outranks them, and the Council respects him. There's one more thing you can bring one human specialist to assist you. A specialist in what? Your choice. But choose wisely. This is humanity's first real chance to prove our worth to the Concord." John thought for a moment. "Lisa Donovan, from NASA. She's been analyzing the shield technology the Concord shared with us. Found some strange anomalies in the design." Carol nodded. "I'll make the arrangements." 4 days later, John and Lisa stood before the massive doors to the war room. Lisa was shorter than John, with curly brown hair and intense focus in her eyes. She clutched her tablet like a shield. "Are you sure about this?" she whispered. "I'm an engineer, not a soldier." "That's exactly why I need you," John replied. "I can read a battlefield, but you can read their technology." The doors slid open to reveal a circular chamber larger than a football field. In the center, a massive holographic display showed star systems, fleet positions, and battle simulations. Around it stood representatives from all 7 Concord species, arguing in their native languages, while translation devices rendered their words in multiple languages. Simultaneously, a tall Tellurian with silver markings on his blue-gray skin, approached them. "Chief Martinez, I am Admiral Zarek." John stood straighter. "Sir, thank you for the invitation. This is Lisa Donovan, our engineering specialist." Zarek's 4 eyes studied Lisa. "Engineer Donovan, I understand you've been studying our shield." "Harmonics." Lisa blinked in surprise. "Yes, sir. There are efficiency patterns that don't make sense for the level of technology you possess." A ripple of murmurs spread through the room. A reptilian alien with crimson scales stepped forward angrily. "Admiral, bringing humans here was controversial enough. Now they criticize our technology?" Zarek raised one of his 4 hands. General. Krell, that is precisely why they are here. 300 years of war, and we continue to lose ground. Perhaps fresh eyes will see what we cannot. Krell hissed, but stepped back. Zarek turned to John and Lisa. Today, we are reviewing the battle of Proxima Sector. The Zeraxians broke through our defensive line there last month. Observe, analyze, but do not interfere unless invited to speak. For hours, John and Lisa watched as the aliens reviewed battle tactics, ship deployments, and shield configurations. They spoke in technical terms that even the translation devices struggled with. Lisa took constant notes on her tablet, while John studied the holographic battle recreations with intense focus. As the session ended, Lisa leaned close to John. "Did you notice it?" she whispered. "The shield failure points?" John asked quietly. "They're not random." She nodded. "The same harmonic vulnerability I found in the designs they shared with Earth. It's like there's a backdoor built into the system. And the Zeraxians know exactly where to hit," John added. Admiral Zarek approached them as the other aliens filed. "Out. Your impressions?" John hesitated, glancing at Lisa. She gave him a small nod. "Admiral, with respect, we noticed a pattern in how your shields fail during Zeraxian attacks. The same vulnerability appears in multiple battles." Zarek's expression remained neutral. "Our shield engineers have analyzed every failure. The Zeraxians simply have superior weapons technology." Lisa stepped forward. "Sir, it's not about weapon power. It's about frequency targeting. The Zeraxians are hitting specific harmonic points in your shield matrix. Points that shouldn't be vulnerable unless—" "Unless what, Engineer Donovan?" Zarek asked when she hesitated. "Unless they were designed that way," she finished. The room fell silent. The few remaining aliens stared at her. "That's impossible," said a Meridian scientist. "Our shield technology is developed by our most trusted engineers from multiple species. Can you prove this claim?" Zarek asked, his 4 eyes intensely focused on Lisa. She swallowed hard. "I need access to the raw data from the last 10 major battles and the shield specifications for each ship class." "Those are highly classified," General Krell objected from across the room. Zarek was quiet for a long moment. "If what you suggest is true, it would explain much about our continued losses." He turned to an aide. "Grant them access to the data, under supervision. They will work in secure room 3. Krell stepped forward. "Admiral, this is outrageous. Giving humans access to our most sensitive military data? The Council will hear of this." "The Council authorized their presence," Zarek replied calmly. "And after 3 centuries of stalemate, perhaps it is time to consider that our approach may be flawed." For the next week, John and Lisa barely slept. They analyzed battle records, shield specifications, and attack patterns. The more they studied, the clearer the pattern became. On the 8th day, Admiral Zarek called them to his private office. "You requested this meeting. What have you found?" Lisa activated her tablet, projecting a series of waveforms into the air. "The Zeraxian weapons aren't more powerful than yours, Admiral. They're precisely calibrated to exploit weaknesses in your shield harmonics. Weaknesses that appear to be built into the design. Sabotage?" Zarek asked quietly. John shook his head. "Not exactly. We think it's compartmentalization. Your species all work separately on different components. No one sees the whole picture." Lisa nodded. "Each individual system is brilliantly designed, but when they interact, they create these harmonic vulnerabilities. The Zeraxians discovered this and have been exploiting it for decades." Admiral Zarek was silent for a long moment. If true, this could change everything. "But the other commanders will demand proof." "We can provide it," John said confidently. "And more importantly, Engineer Donovan believes she can fix it." "Fix 300 years of shield design flaws?" Zarek's skepticism was clear. Lisa smiled. Sometimes you need an outsider's perspective to see what's been there all along. Very well, Zarek said finally. Prepare your evidence. Tomorrow, you will present to the full War Council. He fixed them with all four of his eyes. If you are right, humans may have just changed the course of this war. As they left Zarek's office, Lisa's hands were shaking. Did we just commit to redesigning alien shield technology for 7 different species? John nodded, a small smile on his face. Welcome to the war room, where apparently every weak spot is now in human hands. The War Council chamber buzzed with tension. 7 senior commanders, one from each Concord species, sat at a raised semicircular table. Below them, John Martinez and Lisa Donovan stood beside a holographic display, waiting to present their findings. Admiral Zarek sat at the center of the council, his forearms folded in what John had learned was a neutral Tellurian posture. This council session is now active, Zarek announced. We are here to review the analysis provided by the human observers. General Krell, the reptilian commander, hissed softly. Let's be clear about what is happening. We are allowing primitives to critique 300 years of our military strategy. Primitives who noticed what we did not, Zarek replied calmly. Proceed, Chief Martinez. John stepped forward. Thank you, Admiral. With your permission, Engineer Donovan will explain. Our technical findings first. Lisa activated her tablet, and the holographic display filled with shield diagrams and battle simulations. Despite her nervousness, her voice was steady. A Concord uses 7 different shield technologies, one developed by each member species. She began. Each is powerful in its own way. The Tellurian phase barriers can absorb massive energy weapons. The meridian reflection fields can deflect physical projectiles. The Acrylian adaptive screens can change properties to match incoming attacks. She touched her tablet, and the display showed the shields in action during battles. But when these systems are integrated on your warships, they create harmonic vulnerabilities at specific frequencies. The display highlighted points where shields failed during attacks. These vulnerabilities appear in the same pattern across all ship classes. General Krell leaned forward. Are you suggesting incompetence in our engineering? Not at all, Lisa said quickly. Each system is brilliant when used alone. The problem is in the integration. Your species develop technologies separately, then combine them without fully understanding how they interact. An Acrylian commander with translucent skin spoke next. And you believe the Zeraxians know of these vulnerabilities? John stepped forward. They don't just know about them. They've built their entire attack strategy around exploiting them. He gestured, and the display changed to show Zeraxian attack patterns over dozens of battles. Their weapons are specifically calibrated to hit these harmonic weak points. The council chamber erupted in overlapping voices. Some demanded proof, others argued about implications. A few called for the humans to be removed. Admiral Zarek raised. All 4 hands and silence gradually returned. These are serious claims, he said. If true, they change our understanding of this war. The Vulgar commander, a massive being with stone-like skin, pounded a fist on the table. Impossible. The Zeraxians are technologically superior. That is why we lose. Lisa shook her head. With respect, Commander, they're not superior. They're just exploiting weaknesses you don't see. She brought up new diagrams. We analyzed their weapons based on energy signatures from battle records. Their technology is actually less advanced than yours in many ways. They simply focus all their attacks on your blind spots. Blind spots created by our own divisions, Zarek added quietly. John displayed a new series of battle recreations. Each Concord species fights brilliantly, but you fight separately. The Acrylian defend, but rarely support the Vulgar offense. The Meridians develop amazing technologies, but won't adapt them beyond their original purpose. He highlighted specific battle moments. Here, Tellurian ships could have protected the vulgar assault craft, but different command structures prevented coordination. Here, Meridian sensor technology could have detected the Xeraxian flanking maneuver, but the information wasn't shared. In time, the council was silent now, watching intently. Even General Krell seemed thoughtful rather than angry. In Earth's history, John continued, our early wars were fought by separate military branches, Army, Navy, Air Force, each with their own command. We learned through painful experience that integration is essential. We call it joint operations. And you believe this? Joint approach would work against the Xeraxians? Asked the Meridian commander. Combined with fixing the shield vulnerabilities, yes, Lisa answered. We've developed a modification that would eliminate the harmonic weak points. She displayed a complex shield integration design. It requires all 7 technologies to work together instead of separately. The Aquilian commander studied the design. This would require sharing proprietary technology across species lines. Many will resist. Which is exactly what the Xeraxians count on, John said firmly. Your divisions are their greatest weapon against you. Admiral Zarek turned to his fellow. Commanders, I have reviewed their analysis in detail. Their logic is sound. I propose we implement a test of their shield modifications on a single outpost near the Xeraxian border. General Krell's scales shifted color as he considered. A limited test could be acceptable, but any human involvement must remain advisory only. Agreed, Zarek said, looking at John and Lisa. You will work with our engineers to implement your modifications, but final approval remains with this council. After the meeting, John and Lisa walked with Admiral Zarek through the station corridors. You performed well, Zarek told them. But you have made powerful enemies today. Many commanders see your findings as an insult to 3 centuries of Concord strategy. We meant no disrespect, Lisa said. We're just seeing patterns that are harder to notice from inside. Zarek made a gesture John had learned was a Tellurian sign of agreement, which is precisely why I brought you here. Fresh perspectives are rare in a war this old. What happens now? John asked. Now we move quickly before resistance builds. I am assigning you a small Team 1 engineer from each Concord species. You will implement your shield modifications on Defense Station K-12 near the Xeraxian border. When? Do we start? Lisa asked. Immediately. The Xeraxians attack that sector approximately every 14 Earth days. We have 9 days to prepare. Over the next week, John and Lisa worked with their alien team to implement the shield modifications. At first, the other engineers were cold and resistant, particularly the vulgar representative who towered over the humans and rarely spoke directly to them. On the 3rd day, Lisa was struggling to align the meridian reflection fields with the Tellurian phase barriers when the vulgar engineer approached her workstation. Your approach is flawed, he rumbled. The harmonic resonance will collapse under sustained fire. Lisa looked up, surprised by the direct criticism. I've accounted for that with this compensator array. The massive alien studied her design and made a single adjustment to the holographic model. This will increase stability by 30%. Lisa examined the change and smiled. That's actually brilliant. Thank you. The vulgar made a sound like rocks grinding together, his species' version of acknowledgement. Your basic concept is sound. I have fought the Xeraxians for 80 years. I wish to see them defeated before I die. Similar breakthroughs happened with the other engineers. Gradually, respect replaced skepticism as they saw how the human approach integrated their technologies in ways they had never considered. 8 days later, the modified shield system was installed on Defense Station K-12. John, Lisa, and their team monitored from the station's command center while Admiral Zarek and the War Council observed remotely. "Zeraxian vessels detected," announced the station. "Commander, 3 attack cruisers on standard approach." Lisa squeezed John's arm nervously. "Here we go." The Zeraxian ships opened fire with their specialized weapons, the same weapons that had been breaching Concord shields for decades. The energy blasts hit the station's shields, which flared brilliantly, and held. "Shields at 97%. Reported a technician. No harmonic destabilization detected." The Zeraxians fired again, this time concentrating on a single-pointed tactic that had always succeeded before. Again, the shields held. The alien engineers around John and Lisa exchanged looks of amazement. The Vulgar actually placed a massive hand on Lisa's shoulder in what might have been a gesture of respect. "They're changing tactics," John observed, as the enemy ships began a new attack pattern. "They've realized their usual approach isn't working." But it was too late for the Zeraxians. Without their advantage of exploiting shield vulnerabilities, they were outmatched by the station's defensive weapons. After taking heavy damage, they retreated. Admiral Zarek's voice came through the communication system. "Defense Station K-12. To War Council, the human modifications have succeeded. For the first time in 40 years, a border station has repelled a Zeraxian attack without damage." There was a moment of silence, then General Krell's voice. "Perhaps it is time we listened more carefully to our human advisors." Word of the successful defense at Station K-12 spread quickly through the Concord. 2 weeks after the victory, John and Lisa found themselves in a new, larger workspace on the station. Admiral Zarek had assigned them a full team of 20 engineers and tacticians from all 7 Concord species. "This is more like it," Lisa said as she worked on a holographic display showing shield configurations for the main Concord battle fleet. The Meridian engineer beside her nodded in agreement. John stood at another display, studying Zeraxian fleet movements with a Tellurian tactical officer. "They're changing their patterns," John observed. "They know their old approach doesn't work anymore." The Tellurian, Commander Shen, adjusted the display. "Yes, but they don't know how much we understand about their tactics now. Thanks to your analysis, we see their strategy clearly for the first time." Admiral Zarek entered the workspace, and everyone stood at attention. "At ease," he said. "The War Council has reached a decision. Based on the success at Station K-12, we are approving a larger operation." He activated the main display in the center of the room, showing a star system near the border. "This is the Vega Proxima system. The Zeraxians use it as a major supply route for their frontline forces. We will target it with our first joint species attack force." Lisa looked up from her work. "Joint species? You're integrating your fleets?" "A trial integration," Zarek clarified. 3 ships from each Concord species, modified with your shield harmonization technology, operating under a unified command structure." John stepped closer to the display. "Who will command this force?" "I will," Zarek replied. "With you as my strategic advisor." The room fell silent. Even after the success at Station K-12, many Concord officers still viewed humans as primitive newcomers. Having one advise a fleet admiral was unprecedented. General Krell entered the workspace, his reptilian scales gleaming under the lights. To everyone's surprise, he didn't object to Zarek's announcement. "The human has proven his worth," Krell said, eyeing John with what might have been respect. "I have assigned my best Volder battlecruiser to the task force." Over the next 3 weeks, John worked closely with Zarek and the Joint Fleet commanders. They needed to overcome centuries of separate tactical doctrines and get 7 different species to fight as one coordinated force. Lisa led the engineering team in modifying the 21 ships with the new shield technology. The work was challenging. Each species had different engineering approaches, and communication styles. The vulgar were blunt and physical, while the Meridians were abstract thinkers who rarely explained their reasoning clearly. "I never thought I'd be teaching aliens how to work together," Lisa told John one evening as they reviewed the day's progress. John smiled. "That's exactly why we're valuable to them. On Earth, we have hundreds of countries and cultures. We're used to bridging differences. Do you think this operation will really change things?" Lisa asked. "If it succeeds, it will prove that integration works better than separation. That's a powerful message in a war that's been fought the same way for 3 centuries. 2 days. Before the fleet was scheduled to depart, Ambassador Carol Winters arrived at the station for an inspection. Zarek gave her a tour of the modified ships. "I'm impressed," Carol said as they walked through the flagship's command center. "When I sent John here, I hoped he might improve human standing in the Concord. I never expected him to revolutionize their entire approach to the war." "He has a gift for seeing patterns others miss," Zarek replied, "as does Engineer Donovan. They have shown us our blind spots." "And now?" Carol asked. "Now we will see if this new approach can deliver a significant victory, not just a defensive success." The next day, the joint fleet prepared for departure. John stood on the bridge of Zarek's flagship, the Tellurian vessel Dawnbreaker. The ship was massive, with technology far beyond anything humans had developed. "All ships report ready, Admiral," said the communications officer. Zarik turned to John. "Any final advice before we depart?" John considered for a moment. "Remember that the Zaraxians have been fighting the same enemy for 300 years too. They have their own habits and expectations. Our biggest advantage is that we're doing something new, something they won't expect." Zarek made a Tellurian gesture of approval. "Well said. Signal the fleet. We launch in 10 minutes. The journey to the Vega Proxima system took 3 days at faster-than-light speeds. John used the time to run battle simulations with the fleet commanders, focusing on coordination between the different ship types. The Acrylian vessels should protect the vulgar heavy cruisers as they move into attack position, John explained during one simulation. Meanwhile, the Meridian scouts can provide real-time targeting data to everyone through the new shared network. Some commanders still resisted the joint approach, but most were warming to the idea. The success at Station K-12 had opened minds. They arrived at Vega Proxima. They found the system lightly defended. 3 Zaraxian patrol ships guarded the main supply depot and massive station orbiting the system's 4th planet. "They don't expect an attack here," Zarek observed. "This deep in their territory, they've grown complacent." The Concord fleet moved into attack formation. For the first time in the war's history, ships from all 7 species operated in perfect harmony. Acrylian defensive vessels protected vulgar attack cruisers. Meridian sensor ships fed targeting data to Tellurian weapons platforms. The other species filled specialized roles based on their strengths. The Zaraxian patrols spotted them and moved to intercept, sending urgent distress signals. "They're calling for reinforcements," reported the communications officer. Estimated arrival time, 40 minutes. "Then we have 40 minutes to accomplish our mission," Zarek said calmly. "All ships commence attack as planned." The battle unfolded exactly as John had simulated. The Zaraxian ships tried their usual tactics, targeting what would have been weak points in the Concord shields. But the modified shields held firm. The patrol ships were quickly disabled, and the fleet moved on to the supply depot. Its defenses were stronger, but they too relied on exploiting harmonic vulnerabilities that no longer existed. "Their weapons are having minimal effect," Lisa reported from the engineering station. "Shields holding at 87% across the fleet." The vulgar cruisers moved into position and fired their main weapons at the depot's power core. The station's shields collapsed under the perfectly coordinated assault. Zaraxian reinforcements entering the system, announced the sensor officer. 7 battlecruisers. Too late, John said, watching as the supply depot's reactor went critical. The explosion lit up space like a new sun. All ships, prepare to withdraw, Zarek ordered. Mission accomplished. As the fleet regrouped for the jump to faster-than-light travel, the Zaraxian reinforcements arrived. They outnumbered the Concorde fleet, but Zarek didn't seem concerned. Should we engage them? Asked the Vulgar commander over the communication channel. No, Zarek replied. We've achieved our objective. But let's leave them a message. He turned to John. What would Earth military doctrine suggest in this situation? John thought for a moment. Show strength without seeking unnecessary conflict. Let them see what they're now facing. Zarek nodded. All ships form up in Combat Array Delta. Let them see our new formation before we depart. The 21 ships of the Joint Fleet formed a perfect battle formation, something no Concorde fleet had ever shown before. The Zaraxian vessels held position, seemingly unsure how to respond to this unexpected development. They're scanning us, Lisa reported. They've noticed the shield modifications. Good, Zarek said. Let them wonder what else has changed. He gave the order, and the fleet jumped to faster-than-light speed, leaving the Zaraxians behind as they traveled back to Concorde space. Zarek found John in the observation deck, looking out at the streaking stars. The War Council is already calling this a historic victory, Zarek said. For the first time in 50 years, we've destroyed a major Zaraxian installation. It's only the beginning, John replied. Now that your species are working together, there's no limit to what you can accomplish. Zarek was quiet for a moment. What your people call teamwork is not natural for our species. We have evolved separately for millions of years. But you can learn, John said. That's the advantage of intelligence over instinct. Yes, Zarek agreed. And perhaps that is the greatest lesson humans have brought to the war room, that adaptability is more powerful than tradition. 6 months after the victory at Vega Proxima, the Concorde station was transformed. The once separate sections where different species worked in isolation were now integrated. Engineers from all 7 Concorde races worked side by side, sharing ideas and technology. In the redesigned war room, a new central table replaced the old tiered seating, symbolizing the equality of all voices in planning. John Martinez stood before this table, presenting his latest analysis to the War Council. The holographic display showed a map of Zaraxian territory with key strategic points highlighted. The Zaraxians have pulled back from 3 major systems along this border, John explained, pointing to the map. They're consolidating their forces around their core worlds. Admiral Zarek, now Supreme Commander of the Concorde's unified fleet, studied the display. They fear another attack like Vega Proxima. More than that, John said. They are confused. For 300 years, they knew exactly how the Concorde would fight. Now they face an enemy that changes tactics with each engagement. General Krell, whose initial hostility toward humans had evolved into grudging respect, tapped a claw on the table. We should press our advantage while they are disorganized. I agree, said John, but not with a direct assault on their strongholds. That's what they're preparing for. Instead, John outlined a bold plan targeting the Zaraxians' communication network. If successful, it would isolate their fleets from one another, preventing coordinated defense. As the council debated the details, Lisa Donovan entered the war room with an excited expression. She had been working with a mixed species research team on captured Zaraxian technology. Sorry to interrupt, she said, but we've made a breakthrough with the Zaraxian ship we captured last month. Zarek gestured for her to continue. Even the usually impatient General Krell gave her his full attention. We've confirmed what John suspected, Lisa said. The Zaraxians aren't a single unified empire. They're a coalition of 3 different species, each responsible for different aspects of their war effort. She activated her tablet, and the display changed to show internal schematics of Zeraxian ships. Their vessels are designed with separate sections for each species. They're compartmentalized, just like the Concorde was before. The implications were clear to everyone. The Zeraxians suffered from the same weaknesses the Concorde had recently overcome. If they're divided internally, John said slowly, then they have the same blind spots we did. We can exploit their lack of integration, just as they exploited ours for centuries. The Council quickly approved a new strategy. Instead of the communication network, they would target the connections between the 3 Zeraxian species, disrupting their ability to coordinate. 2 weeks later, John found himself aboard the flagship of the largest Concorde fleet ever assembled. 60 ships from all 7 species, all modified with integrated shield technology and operating under a unified command structure. Lisa joined him on the observation deck as the fleet prepared to depart. Hard to believe this all started because they let you into the war room, she said. John smiled. They were desperate. 300 years of war will do that. And now they have hope. For the first time, they're winning. Lisa looked out at the assembled fleet. Do you ever wonder what will happen when the war ends? Will they still need humans? They'll always need fresh perspectives, John replied. That's what we bring to the galaxy, the ability to see things differently. The mission that followed was the most ambitious yet. The fleet split into 3 task forces, each targeting a different aspect of Zeraxian operations. John commanded one group, targeting a Zeraxian research facility where their weapons were developed. Admiral Zarek led another against their main shipyard. General Krell, now a strong supporter of the joint species approach, led the third against their command center. John's force encountered heavy resistance. The Zeraxians had learned from previous defeats and adapted some of their tactics, but they still operated as separate species with separate objectives, while the Concorde forces fought as one unified team. They're targeting our meridian sensor. Ships, reported Commander Shen as the battle intensified. They've identified them as the coordination points of our network. Just as we predicted, John replied. Implement countermeasure Alpha. The fleet smoothly reorganized, with Acrylian defense ships moving to protect the Meridian vessels, while Volga cruisers pressed the attack. What the Zeraxians didn't realize was that the sensor functions had been distributed across all ships and other. Innovation inspired by human military doctrine. After 3 hours of battle, the research facility's defenses collapsed. John ordered boarding parties to secure the facility intact. We want their technology, not just a victory, he reminded his officers. The boarding teams, mixed groups from all Concorde species, secured the facility with minimal damage. What they found inside was beyond their expectations. Admiral Martinez called a Tellurian officer who had been among the first to enter the facility. You need to see this. John, recently promoted to Admiral by the Concorde Council, followed the officer to a vast chamber filled with weapon prototypes and research data. They were developing a new shield disruptor, the officer explained. One that could potentially penetrate even our modified shields. How close were they to completing it? John asked. Months away, perhaps less. We arrived just in time. Similar successes came from the other task forces. Admiral Zarek destroyed the shipyard, eliminating the Zeraxians' ability to replace their losses. General Krell captured their command center intact, giving the Concorde access to their entire strategic database. When the 3 task forces reunited at the rendezvous point, the mood was triumphant, but focused. This wasn't just a victory. It was a turning point in the war. 1 month later, the Concorde station hosted a formal ceremony. Representatives from all 7 Concorde species gathered in the Great Hall. For the first time, A delegation from Earth was invited to attend as honored guests. Ambassador Carol Winters led the Earth delegation. She smiled proudly as John and Lisa were called forward to receive the highest honor the Concord could bestow, the Star of Unity, a medal never before awarded in the Concord's long history. Admiral Zarek presented the medals himself. For 3 centuries, the Concord fought as 7 separate forces against a common enemy. We were blind to our own weaknesses, trapped in traditions that no longer served us. He looked at John and Lisa. It took the fresh eyes of humanity to show us a better way to turn our weaknesses into strengths by truly working together. After the ceremony, the newly formed Concord Council, now including Ambassador Winters as Earth's representative, gathered in the war room. The holographic display showed the current state of the conflict. For the first time in centuries, the Zeraxian Empire was in retreat across all fronts. The Zeraxian leadership has requested peace talks, Zarek announced. They recognize that they can no longer match our integrated forces. Peace? General Krell seemed surprised. After 300 years of war? Peace was always the objective, John reminded him. Victory is just the path to get there. Ambassador Winters studied the display thoughtfully. What role will Earth play in these peace negotiations? Zarek looked at John and Lisa, then back to Winters. A central one. The humans who showed us our weaknesses may be the best qualified to help build a lasting peace. As the council continued their discussion, John gazed around the war room, the place where everything had changed. 6 months ago, he had been an outsider, barely tolerated by the alien commanders. Now he was an admiral of the Concord, trusted with its most crucial strategies. Lisa joined him at the edge of the room. "What are you thinking?" she asked. John smiled. "I'm thinking about that old saying, sometimes it takes an outsider to truly see what's right in front of you." "They let humans into the war room," Lisa said with a slight smile. "And now every weak spot is in human hands," John finished. "Not to exploit, but to heal."